CLC. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. And I invite you right now, in this moment, just to take a nice, deep breath. Breathing in cool, calming air. And as you release that breath, release all stress and tension. Release all anxiety and doubt. Take another nice big breath, breathing in cool, calming light, and breathing out all that no longer serves you. And as your breath finds its natural rhythm, allow your body to just relax in this moment, putting everything aside. Allow your mind to be here, now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own, for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release.
I release.
Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
I'm grateful for the good in your life.
Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your lives.
Happy, wealthy, healthy, wealthy, wealthy, and wise. All right. Nice to see everybody today. And you too, out there. I still remember Romper Room.
Yes.
And they never called my name. I see Billy and Susie, you know. And I'm like, hello. I know. But they finally started making little bitty license plate frames with my, or little license plate souvenirs with my name on them. You can find, yeah, it's all about me today. The Laws of Manifestation by David Spanger, great little book that we're working out of this month. His ideas, and then I penned some of my own and some of Ernest Holmes and some other random thoughts, all streaming in the same direction of manifestation, how to manifest. And what you find sometimes is that it's not so much what you don't know, it's what you do know that's wrong. Stuff that we've learned. I'm not here to make you wrong or your belief systems, but I think you'll agree that there's information that we've picked up along the way that is useless, that is counterproductive, that keeps us just spinning our wheels. And this is what we're trying to unlearn in New Thought, which the great psychologist, he's considered the father of modern psychology, William James, he called New Thought the religion of right thinking. That's high praise. I think we should capitalize on that kind of thing when we get an endorsement like that from a celebrity, you know, but back in the day it just kind of got filed someplace. But the religion of right thinking, clear thinking, straight thinking about how there are laws that operate in the universe that we engage with, and because they're laws, they respond repetitively. They respond obediently. They have no agenda of their own. And my contention, having studied this stuff for a really long time, is that there's one law. And its functional name is I am, and its operative name or verb form, and Buckminster Fuller said God is a verb, its verb form is love. I am and love. Hang on one second. change channels here.
You can take that off if you don't like that.
Shopping list, microphones. So, cordless microphones.
Thank you.
Then you can really do a mic drop. No. Again, we'll have Jeffrey and you three diving up here for it. Yeah. So there's one law, the great I am, the law of love, the law of the universe, all one, not separate laws for each particular need or each particular engagement or each particular occupation, just one law. So there's less to learn with one law. You don't need multiple operating instructions. I went through some stuff at the house the other day, and I had owner's manuals for like calculators and junk and remotes for old TVs, right? You have all of this stuff, and you never read it in the first place, unless the thing gave you trouble, but you just kind of forged ahead on your own. But you collect all of this stuff. Well, imagine the mental inventory of instructions that we have for how to deal with each particular situation that we've accumulated over time, that you start accumulating in the womb, in the crib, and build onto. But there's one law. One law, I said this last week, I think, one God, one law, one element, one far-off divine event to which all creation moves. That's Tennyson. Except it's not so far off. It's really immediate. It's really ubiquitous. There's one law. So we're learning this month. We know some things, and now we're applying them in terms of manifestation, because scriptural promises and common sense both suggest that we can manage manifestation more effectively than we do. Well, how do we do that? Well, there are basically three types of manifestation that we engage in. The first is the type of manifestation where you keep doing what you've done all along. You keep getting what you've always got, more or less. And if you don't get what you want, that's too bad. And it's painful, but you deal with it. And life goes on. You lose what you have, and it's painful, and you deal with it, but life goes on. Or you get what you want, and you're surprised and astonished, and it's fantastic, and everything has changed, and nothing will ever be the same. And a week from now or a year from now, it's faded into mediocrity, and it's painful, but you deal with it. Like a little kid. Look, it's a bright, shiny thing. It's a bright, shiny toy, and you're all excited about it. And if you get it at Christmas, by March, the thing's dented and smashed. And something else has come along, and something else after that to grab your attention. And if we were smart, at that point we would realize, putting my faith in form is a waste of my time, a waste of my energy. All I do is get my feelings hurt. When things wear out, things break, things just give up. So that's one form of manifestation, is to just kind of take whatever shows up and deal with it. And we're good at that. The second type of manifestation is to choose, is to select, whittle down the range of likely outcomes to the place of expectancy of a particular good. What would you like to manifest in your life? What kinds of things would you like to manifest? More on things in a minute. And the third kind of manifestation he speaks of in the book principally is to feel so in the flow of the creative mechanism of the universe that you trust that when you reach out your hand, what you need will be there. That you trust that the next step you take will be supported by something. That you trust that all around you is, so that you don't have to manage so carefully all of your choices. of what you want to create in your life. You're willing to be surprised. See, let's go back to step number 2 for a moment. I used the example last week, the menu. A couple of you commented on this. It made you hungry. You ran out of here to go eat. But you walk into a restaurant, you look at the menu, and you decide what you want to have, and they go away to get it for you. And you sit there drooling, right? Well, maybe not drooling, but you sit there anticipatory. You have decided on something you want, and you know what it is. And you know generally what it tastes like, and that's why you ordered it, and so you get the picture, and you're sitting there. And so anything else wouldn't do, would it? If they came out and said, sometimes they do this, they'll come out and say, well, we're out of that, what else do you want? But what if they came out and said, we're out of that, so here. And just put a plate down in front of you. Like a friend would at their home, right? If you're having dinner with us tonight, you're eating what we're eating. We're not giving you a menu. So, but that, you'd be disappointed, you'd be a little bit thrown, you know? And especially if it was a plate of, just to push the metaphor to its extreme, if it were a plate of food of something you'd never touched in your life. What is this? I've never seen anything like this. It must be ghastly. And they'll say, well, why don't you try it? Well, and so you go through all these changes over whether to try it, and then finally you do, and say, this is pretty good. Then you look kind of outraged. Where has this been my whole life? I could have been eating this all along. You notice how we do this with so many different things? Well, you're not the kind of person I expected. Where's the person I expected to be in this role in my life? And instead you show up. Waiter! No, that's not how it works. And instead, now, why, you're all right. You're a pretty fine person. Where have you been my whole life? Why haven't I known about you? And we go from this kind of faux outrage to faux, or not so faux, frustration, annoyance, when we don't get what we want. Listen, there's a little kid in us. Kid yourself not. There is a toddler in each one of us that no matter how sophisticated and polished we might seem to be, flails its little arms and legs when it doesn't get what it wants. And we mask that very nicely. We editorialize on it. We write letters, you know, this kind of thing. We manage it in a very grown-up way, but inside there we feel the turmoil when we don't get what we want. Which is why in this book, David Spaulding, that speaks about the trust that you can cultivate in a world that works, in a universe that works, that if what you want has not yet arrived, it's on its way to you. Yet it will be surprising. And it will always be about feelings. And that's the main thing to remember about this. If you remember nothing else in this series that you want to carry through, you know, as a theme, it's about feeling. Because when I talk about creating forms or stuff, stuff is a wonderful word. George Carlin did a lot with stuff. Stuff is a wonderful word. It's an all-encompassing word. It means feelings about how things are, moods, consciousness, right? It means conditions, circumstances, outcomes. It also means cars, cash, and jewelry. All of that taken together. Houses, jobs, careers, round-the-world cruises, picnic baskets, picnic hampers full of food, you name it. What do you like? A toy truck. A little cement mixer that when you roll it, the wheels make the mixer part turn, which is clear plastic and has colored balls in it, plastic balls in it, which turn and make a noise. And I bring that up because I got one of those when I was a kid. I got one of those for my birthday when I was, I don't know, 4. And I had a religious relative by marriage who, my birthday's in December, when Lent came, 2 months later, they took the truck away. Give it to the poor. And I thought, well, darn those poor. Later I thought, what does a poor person need with my truck? Of all the useful things you could give somebody who needs something, you give them a toy truck? Well, then I realized, what kind of God must they have believed in, that you snatch stuff away? And then I realized they believe in the same God most people believe in, that says for you to have what you want, it's got to be snatched away from somebody else. Maybe because they're not doing the right thing with it. Are you done with that yet? Give me that. And this is how things get moved from place to place. I will have a wonderful new job when the person who's in it right now messes up. I will have a wonderful new home when the person who's living in it right now loses everything. This is a mindset that a lot of people are in. I need other people to fail so I can succeed. I bring this up because there's one law. And that law, oh, I love this about that law. That law doesn't know the difference between me and them. So if I'm sitting here wishing ill towards someone else, the law doesn't know I don't mean myself. And guess what happens? Of a corrective nature, of an instructive nature, not a condemning nature, but an instructing nature, it says don't do that. That's foolish. That's foolish. So we accept and know that every person can thrive. Not only can thrive in sort of the passive sense, but is thriving. Right now, everybody is thriving at who they are and at what they're doing. Let's affirm and know that. And then what do we do out in the world? How do we carry this stuff out into the world? And that was the main point I wanted to get to today, which I'll keep you just a few more minutes with. The idea of competition is an illusion. By that I mean this. Competition in the big picture does not exist. Why? There's one system. There's one life. There's nothing to compete with it. Everyone, everything that exists is within that one system. You can only have competition if you have two or more systems. Makes sense, right? Okay. But emotionally, how does that settle in? Because in the little picture, there is competition on a day-to-day basis. Like, for example, you pulled into the parking lot today, and if you weren't one of the first few here, you might not have been able to, I mean, the place isn't packed to the rafters, but you might not have been able to park where you usually did because somebody else got there and we don't have assigned parking, right? Things run out sometimes. There's a competition for supply sometimes. There are only so many seats at Harvard Law School. There are, yeah, okay. But the idea that you have to go to Harvard Law School to be a successful human, or even a successful lawyer, is largely the manufacture of Harvard Law School. You see. So we invent a lot of competition, a lot of illusory competition that doesn't really exist. We say, in order for me to thrive, certain things have to fall into place. No, they don't. Other things can fall into place in place of those things and generate a success for you. You've heard it said that you're your own worst enemy. That's an awful saying. But it does have a ring of truth to it. So we turn it around. We'll say, well, if I'm my own worst enemy, I'm also my own best friend. And what am I going to do as my own best friend? How am I going to behave in the world as my own best friend? I'm going to manage the competition that I can manage. I'm going to, as Donald John Lewis puts it beautifully, he says, control the things you can control. And we leave the rest to God. Control the things you can control. we can control, or if you prefer, manage or navigate more than we thought we could. So what is that we can manage? We can manage the spirit of competition that we have with ourselves and with our recognition of what the world is competing for with us, by which I mean this: the world is competing for your attention. Things are competing for your time. Things are competing. They're also competing, obviously, for your money and things like this. The whole array of products that get advertised to you. But money is more, it's not as visceral as time and attention. Worries are competing. You open your phone in the morning and worries compete. All have their little hands up to compete. They're all jammed up like the keys in the old-fashioned typewriters, the old, where they, right? Type too fast, now they all seize up. There's going to come a time, I live long enough, when people are going to go, what? Record albums. Anyway, so things compete for your attention. They want to suck you in. Worries compete. Have you heard about the trouble with monitors now explode or something? All of a sudden, I can't think of what to say. All of a sudden, the whole mood in the room changes over the recall notice of that particular brand of monitors. I made that up. That's not true. If you're eyeing possible exits, that's not the case. But you see what I mean? Things compete for your attention. Things compete to suck you in. And it really winds up being sort of like an auction where who'll worry about this for 10 hours? Okay, who'll worry about this for a day? Who'll worry about this for a week? Sold. And now you get to carry the weight of this thing with you for that length of time. But like an auction, you know what happens? You see on TV, they sit there with little paddles with numbers on them. But there are auctions where people just scratch their nose. People just twitch. And it's sold. And it's sold. Ideas are viral loads looking for a host. That's not how Spangler terms them. That's not how Ernest Holmes did either, because that wasn't familiar terminology in his time, but that is how things work. They are memes. Ideas are looking for memes. If there's a worry out there, it's looking for somebody to nest on, not because it's an evil, sinister thing, but because that's what it needs to do to reproduce. They're kind of like animals that way. They kind of nest, They're looking for a host organism like a parasite would, because that's really kind of what they are. All these ideas, positive ideas as well as negative ideas, they're looking for somebody to host them. A whole symphony can write itself in your head. A whole painting, a whole show of paintings can come into your mind and nest in you because you have something to contribute to its presence in the world, to its emergence into the world. Maybe you're not the person to carry it all the way, but you're going to carry it for a period of time where it's going to get something that it needs that it can only get from you. See, we're way more important than we seem in the overall scheme of things. And when you hear terms like co-creator used in New Thought, this is what it means. It doesn't just mean that you decide one day that you're going to throw in with the universe and do something together. It means that the whole time there's this constant stream of intelligent energy passing through you because you have something to add to it as well as something to gain from it. That's why we want to manage the part of this system that we effectively can by selecting what we're going to give our attention to on a repeated basis. Yes, if a fire breaks out, you've got to do something about it, but you don't have to sit there and dwell on what would happen if it did. And this is what so many of us do, is we trip off into this stuff. We sit there and we awfulize. We awfulize. We sit and we think about, okay, things are okay, but what if they weren't? And then what would I do? And then what would I do? And then I'd be utterly bereft. And then what would I do? And I'm not saying that when you do this, it goes into spiritual law and immediately creates an awful life for you. What I am saying is it wastes your time. And it robs your energy. And it makes you a little bit sick. Makes you a little bilious. When you sit and think about these things, your food doesn't digest, you don't sleep well, you lie there awake at night staring at the ceiling, thinking about all kinds of things that you're not going to get up and do. Because laziness creeps into it too. Oh, what's the use? Have you ever said that to yourself? Oh, what's the use? And you throw your arms up. You look like the robot on Lost in Space with the arms. You know. Just throw the arms. Oh, what's the use? And a whole toxic wave of blech comes over you. Simply because you sold off your consciousness to the highest bidder. I reversed the metaphor there, but you get the picture. We've given in. We've given in. So, okay, I am at the effect. I am at the effect of this apparent stream of circumstances. As you heard Danielle say, and as you hear her say, every Sunday in that inner healing experience, real or imagined, I now forgive anyone who has harmed me in any way, real or imagined. But real or imagined can extend to any sort of transaction that we have with life. Is this real or is it imagined? So the takeaway from this that I recommend, and I'm doing it, we're all doing it together, is to notice where I'm giving my attention. The baseball manager who got fired earlier in the season from his team is lamenting how poorly the team is playing, even though he's no longer there. And he said the team needs, I think he means the ownership, needs to stop chasing bright, shiny objects. He seems to be saying that they're going out and buying good ball players, but they haven't assembled them all into a team that can actually win baseball games. And I thought of that, and that bright, shiny object, and I thought, how many bright, shiny objects do I chase that are a substitute for what I really want, which is peace in my heart, contentment, a sense of trust in the universe, unconditional love, and so forth. Settle not for a cheap imitation, but demand the real thing. By directing consciousness along certain lines towards specific outcomes when it suits you to do that, and floating in a great big inner tube down the river of life when it suits you to do that, because the river of life is built for you, not against you. It does not lead to a sudden waterfall of death, this that you go over, okay? May have some occasional rapids, but they're exciting. But it's all built to work. The whole system is built to work. And when you came into this world, it was presented to you with a flourish. Curtains like this lifted off. Ta-da! Voila! The world. And at first, I've been reading about this, and we've been talking about it in some of the classes. At first, you lost your mind over it. It was the most beautiful thing you'd ever seen in this world, It was like, oh, man, I can't wait to know more about this. I can't wait to taste every flavor of it. I can't wait to just dive in. And then after a while, it was something the new wore off. Or there may have been associations of loss or pain with life that made new rules for you about how life is, though no such rules really exist. This is the spiritual psychology of the matter, you see. Well, that little person in you who first looked at this, not just the screaming toddler, but that little person in you who first looked at this life and saw beauty and wonder in it is still in there too. let that person speak. Let that person make choices for you and watch what happens. So next week, we'll conclude this series on manifestation and then move on from there into some new, exciting dimensions in September, which I've already come up with, but I forget what they are. And anyway, surprises are fun, aren't they? So let's know together now. There is one. I said this for this class the other. You might get a kick out of this. How many lives are there? There's one life. Whose life is it? It is my life. When is it my life? Right now. Where is it my life? Right here. This one life. This one life that I am expressing, that I am finessing in everything that I do, has within it everything necessary for me to thrive. So I trust that. And I watch for it. I keep the high watch for the good that I seek, in whatever form it is, but especially at the level of feeling. Because if stuff doesn't move my feelings, what good is it to me? If I don't feel like I belong, what good is it to me that I do? Always the sensation of life then available to me is one of being wrapped in absolute unconditional love, while at the same time being challenged in a delightful way to be more of who I already am. So I claim that in this week to come, everything I need to support this is right there as I reach for it. That I encounter other godlings in every face I see, who are about supporting me and my vision as I am about supporting them and theirs. And I simplify my thinking, no longer needing complex, devious strategies to keep myself apart, but instead willing to plunge right in to this amazing exercise in humankind as Godkind, strolling the face of this earth for this knowing and its manifestation in form. Everywhere I turn, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
So it is.
So I'm going to turn you loose into into that, because I hear that thunder. But what I'm going to do is give you one piece of advice. I'm reading in the mornings. The book that I am doing online is called Beyond Appearances, and I got Shirley Briggs this morning, and it was called The Lessons from the Coffee Shop Teacher, or it was The Coffee Shop Teacher, I think is the name of it, but that's neither here nor there. In her affirmation at the bottom, she said, treat people from who you are or what you are, not from how they're acting. Yeah, that set me back on my heels for a minute. It's like, treat people from what you are, not how they're acting, okay? So right now, what I am going to know for you is what you are. I am going to know that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. And each and every one of us are a part of that love. We are that love in action. We are how that love gets into this world. We are how that love manifests in this world. We are literally beloved children of God. So as we move through our week, that is what we are going to know from. That is what we are going to act from. That is what we are going to respond with. We are going to respond with love. And we are going to respond with divine love. We are going to up-level the love in this world with every word we speak, every act we make. every thought we think. That is who we are. And so I know this, and I know this from the depth of my soul, because the depth of my soul is that love. It is coming from an inexhaustible source, an amazing source, a loving source, a source that wraps around each and every one of us and holds us when we need it, whether we like it or not. And I am grateful to know this source. I'm grateful to know this love. And I am grateful for a place that teaches this love. I am grateful for this place. I am grateful for these ministers, these practitioners, these musicians. I am grateful for each and every one of you, both in the room and online. I am grateful for you. And I'm grateful just to be grateful, because it's an amazing feeling. And I know this love is manifesting in each and every one of our lives, even as I speak these words. Because joy and love are always running towards us. And so it is.
Say it with me now. Something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose
I
it.
trust it.
I trust
I
it.
use it.
I use it.
And I love it.
And I love it.
So it is.
And so it is.